All right, let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to start off with wins and lessons learned from the last few days. If you guys have some wins or lessons learned to share for the group, please share them now. I haven't had a really good one. He's not here, so.
Big wins. I went under contract on my highest listed property ever.
You also have a listing for photography today, right?
Yeah, and I got a listing out of it too with Jasmine.
Fantastic. So where did those leads come from, or what did you do?
All right, so this is wild. So on Tuesday, last Tuesday, a woman messaged me, commented on a post that I had made in that Ears for Us Facebook group that I posted back in I think January. And she was like, hey, sending you a message now. I was like, all right. So she sent me a message. She told me that her and her wife are looking to buy a house. And so we went on Wednesday and Thursday to look at some. And then I think on Friday, we found the winner. And we went under contract. We were under contract by Saturday or Sunday. And then they were like, well, we need to list our house. So can you help us do that? And I was like, yes, I can do that too. So it all started from a post on Facebook from 9 months ago. Crazy.
But she commented on the post recently, but it was the post from 9 months ago.
Correct. Yeah, I posted it in January and she commented on last Tuesday.
And I think that's a good example of how social media is so important, because even though when you do post on social media, if you post on your stories, those have a shelf life, about 24 hours
Right
before they're, taken down. But some content doesn't have a shelf life, right? That's why YouTube videos are so important nowadays, because if someone hears your name, they're probably going to Google you, and the first thing that might come up will be your YouTube and any videos of you.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
Definitely great job at creating that content. Other wins or lessons learned?
I think a win for me right now is I have 2 properties under contract. One is closing this Friday, and I just did the inspection for the other one over the weekend, and we only have a couple minor things, and the seller's electrician is going to fix those things, so we're good to go. And so yeah, that one is moving forward. So I'm like, yay, those are some wins for me.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And we have a closing today for a new construction home in Winding Bay, built by Rockwell. So as long as we walk the house and it's done, which it wasn't last Friday, we will be closing today. So
who's closing on that?
Kate and Daniel Bryce, my customers.
Oh, your customers. Okay, cool. They built a pretty house.
They did.
Norm watched that video last night. And he was like, where is this? And I was like, it's Rockwell Homes in Winter Garden.
Yeah, it's a cute neighborhood too. So does anyone else have anything else they want to share, or do you have specific questions? Otherwise, we're going to talk about submitting offers. Oh, cool. So last time that we had this conversation, or that I was leading this discussion about writing and submitting offers, we spent 2 days going through it. And we first talked about the conversation that you need to have with your buyer to identify the terms that you're going to be putting on the offer for them, right? And how to have that conversation with the customer and define what the offer is going to be and how to advise them on what to do, what to offer and what not to offer. And then the second day we wrote it all out. So we took that example after having that make-believe conversation, and then we put it all on our offer documents and we sent it out for signatures. So today, I just want to talk about some more simple stuff, which is just how to submit your offer, right? Jose is not on this call yet, but he does videos, and he'll actually do a video message to the listing agent when he submits the offer, right? And you got to think, guys, when you're dealing with listings that are very competitive and there's going to be multiple offers, you want your name to stand out to the listing agent. Because one, we like working with people we're familiar with. So if you have rapport with them, then that could, influence what they suggest to their seller to accept. And then two, if you have a relationship with a listing agent, they may also disclose more to you, right? They might be more descriptive in the sense that they know they've done a deal with you or your team, and that they are willing to work with you because they know that you're good and efficient. So they might say, hey, if you can get your buyers up to this point, we can make that deal work. Does that all make sense? Every time I'm on a Zoom call. So when you put together your offer package, what I typically suggest and what we do is we put everything in one PDF document, right? The only thing that would be separate would be the pre-approval letter or the proof of funds. So in that one document, I can show you guys how we structure it. I would always recommend putting the escalation clause first as the first page, and then the 12-page contract after that. So it would look something like this, right? So escalation clause up front, that just because you want to make sure that's seen first. As is contract, you have your 12-page contract. And then right after that, you would need any of the disclosures to be included, whether there's an HOA, the seller property disclosure, the lead paint disclosure, if it applies, so on and so forth. So then you do all the addenda second. So typically we like doing this all in one document just because it keeps it organized and it's all in one spot, right? I leave the pre-approvals out separate and I send that as a second attachment when submitting an offer to the listing team, because one document, they can just put it in their signing system and send it to the seller to sign, right? They don't have to piece all these documents together. So it keeps the package all in one. When doing your submission of an offer, right? So some people are speak up and share what you do or what your checklist is when you submit an offer. Do you guys not submit offers?
Wait, what's our checklist for when submitting an offer?
Yeah, so you're going to submit an offer. What steps, like what are the baby steps you do after everything is signed and you're submitting it?
Follow up.
Yes, follow up. So what that means, emailing the offer, right? Asking them to confirm receipt in your email, calling them right after you send the email saying, hey, I just sent you my offer, and then texting them when they don't pick up their phone. And after you've left a voicemail saying, hey, I just sent you an offer for this property. Can you please confirm receipt? And the line I typically use is, can you please confirm receipt and advise on when the seller is providing feedback, right? Because I want to know what the expectation is of how fast the seller is going to get back to us. Always ask for people to confirm receipt. The biggest reason about that is you can't just email, because email does get lost. Some people don't use the same email systems we use. They don't have business accounts. So, your offer email going to their personal Gmail account with attachments could be considered spam. But had you not called and texted, you just assumed your offer was received, when in reality it could not. It could just be lost. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
We do have a template that I'm going to put in the chat that people can use. In our CRM, it is called offer submission. And it's basically just a template of what your offer submission email should go over, right? So I'm very black and white and don't write anything with formalities or pleasantries. So it attaches the offer from my buyers for your listing at such and such address. Here's the abbreviated terms: purchase price, deposit, closing date. If there's any special terms, you may want to put it in this section as well, if there's like a concession like that. And then I want them to know exactly who the lender is up front. So I will always copy the lender's email signature and put it within this offer submission email going to the listing agent. right? Because I want the listing agent to have clear, easy access to call the lender and validate that my buyer's pre-approved. If the easier I make the listing agent's job to make a decision to accept our buyer's offer, the more likely that will actually happen, right? So everything up front, and that's why you kind of want to be very organized in how you present things, right? How you present or communicate those offers is also a direct representation to you as a professional, right? If you guys are sending an offer and you're just forwarding an email from DocuSign to me, right? Then you don't seem like a very organized buyer's agent because you didn't take the time to actually write the email and name the docs right? So the more organized things are presented, it's all first impressions. The better I'm going to be able to represent how well that offer was presented to my customers. What questions do you guys have about that, or any other tips that you've used when submitting offers to make your offer stand out?
I noticed you had purchase price, deposit, and was it closing date as like bullet points in that? Do you suggest only those 3?
I would do, no, I would actually do more. I would do whatever makes your offer the most attractive.
Okay.
Right? So purchase price, escalation, huge deposit, 2-day inspection, early close, or post occupancy, right? I just put all the highlights there.
Okay. The good highlights.
The good highlights, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So
you got to remember,
if they want like a 15-day inspection, don't include that in the summary.
correct. I mean, but you want to make sure that the terms are clear because mistakes happen, right? And maybe the listing agent's not going to compile your offer properly if you didn't pull it out, if you didn't write that stuff in the email, right? So they could easily misconstrue your offer and say, when they're presenting it, depending on how they present it, if they didn't actually read things correctly. So what other tips or methods have you guys had positive feedback on when submitting offers? I know Moraris is great at building rapport.
I just put it in the chat, the one I do. What I added, usually put larger fonts and bold.
So
Cool.
she has purchase price, the loan type, earnest money deposit, inspection contingency, appraisal contingency, if there is one or isn't one, closing date, no seller paid home warranty, no seller home concessions, and buyer consent, or buyer will pay up to $5,000 above appraised value.
That's one other thing I would add. Feel free to copy the lender on your offer submission email, right? Because like I said, providing the lender's contact information up front to the listing agent is important. Having the lender call the listing agent and brag about your customers and how well qualified they are is also very important. And so feel free to copy the lender when you're submitting that offer so they can be aware and they can reach out to the listing agent, or maybe I'll trigger them too. So. I know Jose has done videos before and submitting a video to the listing team, whether that's from you as the agent or if your buyers did a video, that's doable as well. And yeah, I think that covers everything on submitting. Let me just check my notes. Cool. So when it comes to communicating with the listing agent, time is of the essence, right? You guys want to be very responsive when they come back to you with counter offers or rejection or anything like that, and quickly communicate it to your customer. If you sit on information, you will get in trouble, right? If the listing agent tells you they went with another offer at 10 a.m. and you don't tell your customer until 6 p.m. and the property already went pending at 2 p.m., you look like you're behind the ball, right? So be proactive in the communication and providing updates to your customers while they're waiting on their offers to be reviewed and received. regarding the offer paperwork, there are a few disclosures that do not have to go to the listing team, right? And so that would be the EXP disclosure, specifically the wire fraud disclosure and the business affiliated business disclosure. So if you're putting your offer together yourself, just make sure to not send those to the listing. All right. Who has some negotiation stories? Go for it, Nick.
Well, no, I'm just trying to, I feel like there's not much negotiating right now in the market because it's just whatever the sellers want, the sellers get.
Absolutely.
Well, I was able to get actually the one that, so my sellers that were photographing their listing, the house that they're buying, we were able to get $10,000 off of the purchase price, which was already, they started at 619 and we're under contract at 560. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's been on the market for like 70 days. But
It was that overpriced.
well, no, and the other thing was the comps, Ben, literally the same exact square footage size home sold for $700,000 and we're under contract for 560. I'm not even kidding. So I think the sellers just like need to get the F out of here.
Yeah. So did you intentionally go in at that price point, or did you guys go lower than that?
Well, so they were approved at what the asking price was at the time, but they were like, it's been on the market for 2.5 months. So she was like, do you think we could get something extra? And I was like, I mean, I just talked to the listing agent. There's no offers on the table. So like, let's go in at what you guys feel comfortable doing. And so we originally asked for 550 plus 3% of seller concessions. And they came back and they said, we'll lower it to 560, but we're not doing concessions. And my buyers said yes. So
Nice.
So, I mean, that's not like a crazy negotiating story, but
what you did there was you asked the right questions. And we talked about this a little bit last time, right? The moment your customer says, I want to submit an offer, you reach out to the listing agent, you ask them, are there any offers on the table? Or nowadays we just ask how many offers are on the table. You also ask the listing agent when the seller is going to review those offers, right? And if there's no offers, or you also need to ask, I'm sorry, if the property had been under contract before, why did it fall apart? And those are all things that you want to ask and do act upon right away after your customer says they want to submit an offer, because then you'll know what kind of negotiating power that you guys have. Just like Nick found out by learning that it's been on the market for 70 days and there's no offers, right? For instance, this happened recently on one of my listings. We were listed at 590, 595. We were in the process of negotiating an offer that came in, but it was lower. We were only at like 585, right? Which the seller was gonna move forward with because we were slightly overpriced. But someone else came in and showed the property and asked me if there was an offer on the table. I said there was. And even though she didn't do a lot of other questions, she created a huge sense of urgency with her customers who also just like the property, even though they're going to gut it and do a remodel. And they submitted an offer at 605, right? So $10,000 above list, which was $20,000 above the offer my seller almost accepted, right? So that's the thing, is if you do your research or you ask those questions, you have that conversation with the listing agent ahead of time, you could find out that maybe we don't have to go at 605, right? Maybe we just need to go at list price to secure this, right? And you can help advise your customer in a better manner when submitting their offer.
was that your Waterley listing?
No, that one we did price. I apparently priced things high. That one we just came down $10,000 and went under contract. It actually closed last week, 2 weeks ago.
So
No,
these
that one-
sellers are buying in Waterley. That's the house that was listed for 619 that we got for 560 in Waterley.
Oh yeah, down the street from my
Yes.
water. Yeah,
Bayview Crossing. Yep.
yeah. Which now they'll use ours as a comp, I guess, somehow. But no, that was the Arden Park listing actually, is the one where we got it 10,000 above list, which
Gotcha.
I didn't say that publicly because it hasn't closed yet. Anyways, other questions about like what you can and can't do or say when submitting an offer to this listing agent? Or any good or bad experiences with it?
I think for me, the only thing I kind of experienced was with this current house that I have under contract. The listing agent, you know, like you said, do their due diligence and try to reach out to the lender and verify everything about the buyer. Well, this particular lender, it's not a local lender, it's Ally Bank. And so they're like very like, we're not giving out any information, like not even basic things. They would not give it out unless the buyer themselves like tapped you into the transaction. So you had to be added onto their account. And so the listing agent was kind of nervous, like, they won't give me any information. Like, this is weird. I've never had that. So the offer only got accepted after, because at first she was like, they need to go with a local lender. We'll accept their offer if they go with a local lender. And they were starting the process to do that. But then I finally was like, hey, lender, like, I need you guys to tap her in so that we can not have to go through and get pre-approved. And my daughter is moving my computer right now. So I'm like, come on, people, I need y'all to get them approved so that you can talk to them, they can talk to you. And they set up a meeting and had that conversation with them. And so that was able to like move forward and they didn't have to get pre-approved with another lender. So she's doing all the things. So yes, that I think that was the first time I'd ever experienced that, because a lot of the local lenders are kind of, or other lenders, they're just like, they'll give you some kind of information as long as you say this is the transaction. We hadn't even officially gone under contract yet, so they really weren't trying to give out any information because they did not have a contract to go based off of. And so that was kind of a weird experience that I've never had before, but luckily I was able to kind of work it out. So we are like good to go, but that was one experience.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Looks like he's another story of a sleeve.
I know. Oh, no, I had a question as far as like, not lying, but doing the best for your sellers and getting the highest price or best terms for your listing. Have you ever not told the truth about like how many offers are on the table or what the terms of something are in order to kind of get a better offer from a different agent who's thinking of submitting an offer?
So that's a great question. So let's everyone switch our brains for a minute, because we were talking about submitting offers and now we're on the listing side and talking about receiving offers. So there are some ethical guidelines that everyone should operate within when it comes to handling offers that are being received for your listing. First of all, offers, once they're received, immediately need to be forwarded to the seller. Now, there is a format to forwarding that. And what I would recommend is taking the abbreviated terms from the offer, putting it in the body of the email and sending it with the attachment of the offer to your seller, right? And you guys can tell, like you can say, hey, let's talk about this later tonight. But once you receive the offer, it should automatically go to the seller, right? And then you can preface that and say, let's, I'm expecting multiple offers today. Let's schedule a time late tonight or tomorrow, and we'll review all of them. And I'll walk you through whatever questions you have, right? And at that point in time, that's when I should probably be a part of your conversation with your customer, right? To make sure that what we're recommending or advising is the strongest and best offer for them. Now, when it comes to disclosing information to the buying side, right, as a listing agent, you are only allowed to disclose what your seller tells you or allows you to disclose, right? So obviously we are representing them, so we have to ask for permission to do those certain things. So the biggest thing is, once you get all the offers, you can make a recommendation to them and say, I would recommend setting a highest and best deadline for everyone to resubmit that their highest and best, and then we schedule an announcement deadline. So, it's Wednesday, we've been listed since Monday, let's keep it up till Friday. We will say we need all offers by 5 p.m. on Friday. We'll talk the following day at 10 a.m. with the seller, and then tell everyone by 5 p.m. the following day after that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it comes to pre-negotiating the offers, right, this is something where you kind of need to explain to the seller up front what you're asking for permission for, right? So, hey, seller, I'm asking for your permission to negotiate the best offer for you by whatever means is possible, so that we can ensure that you have a very strong offer and nothing to worry about, right? Now, I'm asking for general permission to do that and negotiate the best deal and then come to you with the best deal out of all the deals on the table, right? And I will come with explanation why I think it's the best deal or the preferred deal or why these are the top two, right? So explaining that step up front to your seller gives you the method to communicate how you need to when responding to buyer's agents, right? Now, this is more of a legal question / ethical, but I believe that the seller can respond to whichever offer and whatever means that they want, right? So if the seller could say the seller got two offers, one at 100, one at 110, right? The seller could go to the higher one and say, we have another offer on the table, and say nothing else. And they could go to the lower one and say, we have another offer on the table, it's 110, will you beat it, right? And so the seller has the ability to control what information is disclosed to which co-broke on the other side of the table. Questions?
Yeah, I feel like Mike had a story about, I feel like I remembered him saying something at in-person work session about how he did this, and he like took a chance and said something, and he ended up getting a buyer to like come up higher, and his sellers ended up winning because of it.
I don't remember that exact story, but I mean, I'm a strong believer in the power of rhetoric. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And sometimes also remembering that less is more. You don't want to overshare also. You want a sense of mystery from the buyer's side, because it's just going to make their offer more competitive. Because if they feel like they're as a buyer's agent, I probe, and a lot of other agents are really bad at hiding stuff that they should be disclosing. So shame on them, but it's great for my buyers. So just saying, when they ask, are there any offers on the table? Just saying, I'm not able to disclose that at this moment. However, I will tell you that we will be reviewing all offers at such and such a time. Now, all is an open-ended word that could mean one offer or 100 offers, but all is a good word because it suggests plural.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you're not lying. You're ethically doing everything correct, but it's choosing your words carefully when you're talking to these other agents.
I like that. I'm writing that down.
Great. Was Jasmine saying something?
No, I like that. Reviewing all offers. I love it.
Well, because here's the other thing. This is what happened with my first listing. Once we got up to like 20 some offers, when agents would call, I'd say, yeah, we've got this many, thinking like, oh, you're going to submit an offer. If you know that there's this many offers on the table already, bring your highest and best. And they ended up not submitting an offer at all because they were like, well, my buyer can't compete with 20 other offers, even though they didn't know the terms of any of the offers. So I like that. All offers, not disclosing anything, but letting them know there are multiples on the table.
Do your best to be responsive to your buyer's agents that are submitting offers on your listings. So confirm receipt when they send the offer. It is best to obviously send notice of the seller choosing another offer. You can do that as a blind CC email to all the buyer's agents. If you forget to do that, which has happened to me recently, for some reason, you may get an angry buyer's agent that's calling you 3 days before the closing date on the offer that the sellers accepted, wondering why they never got notice that it went under contract or that the seller chose another offer, which occurred 3 weeks earlier. So that's kind of what happens if you don't notify buyers that buyer's agents that their offers weren't accepted. No notice is expiration of the offer. So no notice is a response, right? So as a listing agent, you come to me and you say, our buyers are making this repair request, right? Of course, I have to share that with the sellers, but then I may say, don't respond, right? We're just going to ignore that repair request. And the buyer agent's either going to be smart enough to bug the crap out of me to get an answer, or they're going to cancel the contract within their inspection period. Because no response is a response in that case. Does that make sense? And so that brings us to timelines, right? You guys have to be super specific when referring or talking about inspection periods and financing contingencies. If we're ever going to be on a phone call and it's a timeline or it's a deal specific question, those are the first two questions I'm going to ask you. Are we within our inspection period, and are we within our financing contingency period or our loan approval period? Too many agents are forgetting to extend the loan approval period whenever you extend the closing date, right? So please don't forget that if you are extending the closing date for whatever reason, you probably want to be extending the financing contingency, or just think about it, right? Because if your buyer's loan isn't approved and they need 45 days instead of 30, and you don't extend and something still falls apart, then you've put your buyer at risk, right? All right. Whew. Other questions, comments, concerns about handling sellers or buyers? Nice. So I had a really good conversation with Gavin yesterday. And he's not here, so I get to talk about him. So Gavin got a text from a customer who was actually one of my Disney friends, who Gavin's been showing properties to for the last probably 4 to 6 weeks, right? This kid was looking for properties about 3 years ago in 2018, didn't really qualify for much. At that point, he only qualified for like 250. That was when 250 could actually buy you something. Now he's spending 350 because that's all what you can get for 350. And so, but Gavin got a text from the customer after doing maybe 20 or so showings, and the text said, "Thank you so much for everything that you've done." And this is, if you can hear the tone where this is going. We actually submitted an offer on a property on Sunday, and we are now under contract. We appreciate everything you have done and that you have helped us out. But unfortunately, this means we no longer need your services. Thanks for everything. Best wishes for the future success. Apologize for any inconvenience that this may have caused. So Gavin got a text yesterday that his buyer, he's been working with for 6 weeks showing properties, went under contract Sunday during Labor Day weekend. Let's talk about it. Why does this happen? y'all are oddly asleep today. I thought I was tired.
With who? Does he know who he went under contract with? Was it an agent?
Reached out to the listing agent directly.
Mm,
Now,
tricky.
But
I
I don't, I mean, I thought at that point a relationship has been established and that the listing agent had to have asked if the client was working with the agent, so on and so forth, right? No?
ethically, the listing agent would ask that question, and ethically we have to, right? Anytime like you get a new customer, or like if it's my listing, a buyer calls, right? Question one is, are you a buyer or are you a realtor? If they say I'm a buyer, I say, great, are you working with an agent? And if they say yes, I say, go schedule the showing through that agent. Shouldn't be talking to me directly, right? But if you are a buyer and you're not working with an agent, and I ask you that up front, then it's free and clear, right?
But I thought that they had to notify the agent that they were working with that they're no longer going to be working with them before submitting an offer.
Now, this is where the gray period comes in, and it kind of depends on a gentleman's agreement / an actual written buyer's representation agreement, which no one consistently does, or if you have procuring clause. Now, let's say that Gavin showed that property that they went under contract with to the customer last week. And then the customer reached out to the listing agent and submitted an offer through the listing agent on Sunday. Then there would be a lot more grayness where it would be worth fighting for, right?
Mm.
But this was a property that was listed on Sunday that the customer just reached out to the listing agent to just pop into it instead of reaching out to Gavin. And they didn't think they were going to like it. Supposedly they went into the showing with the intentions of just seeing the floor plan, but didn't think it would be fit well. And then later that night they put together an offer and it goes under contract. Now, how do we prevent this in the future from happening?
Well, I mean, okay, this happened to me too. And I went over with by the two reasons I can think of is, one, they thought that somehow it would save money, that they'd be, by cutting out a buyer's commission. But like I had told mine that they don't pay for my commission, the seller, the listing or seller does. So, but you still, even though it didn't work for me, you want to make that clear that the buyer isn't paying for your commission, it's the seller. And oh God, there's another thing. Lost my train of thought. Can't think.
That's okay. We'll come back to you.
Thanks.
But that was a really, really good point, right? And that's a common misconception. And if you don't educate your buyers, this can happen to you. So
yeah, and that's the other thing. You just said it, educating, is telling them that educating them that if they're going to go to new construction or they're going to go to an open house, whatever, they need to make it clear to whoever's there, the listing agent or the builder, whomever, that they are working with somebody already. And hopefully you've given them their cards and they're supposed to give them your card so that it's clear that they're represented. Again, I did all that too, and it didn't matter, but that would be the advice.
Yes. So it does. Did Delandre want to say something, or Scott? Sorry.
Yes, I actually wanted to say also something. I don't know if you guys can hear me well, but good morning. I also wanted to say sometimes like even educating buyers can be hard because they don't think as the professional that we do. They kind of just do their own thing. So I was going to say maybe even something as small as following up, especially when you're showing clients for weeks. Sometimes it could be, you sometimes forget to follow up as much. So even following up, like had he text them that weekend, like, hey, just checking in on you guys, they could have probably let him know, like, hey, we were thinking I'm going to go see this property. And then he would have been like, okay, well, stop the show. Like, let me reach out to the agent first, or whatever the case is. Just like, so they remembered him, like, hey, Gavin has been helping us. At least let us tell him about it,
Agree with you 100%.
Yeah, because a lot of them also think that you're busy. So just connecting with them in daily basis make you like accessible to them. And if they're in, you know, that day they do want to see a house and buy it that day, at least they know that you have been in communication with them, and probably they still, you know, go with you. But they do that a lot, like especially with new construction.
We have a lot of common misconceptions when it comes to communication, right? As salespeople, we naturally think that, oh, if I'm calling this person twice in today, I'm going to be bugging them. But in reality, as consumers, sometimes that's what we want, right? As a consumer, I want my doctor's office to call me multiple times to schedule an appointment when I'm due for an appointment, because I don't want to have to look up their phone number and try and call them, right? Now, the thing that annoyed me the most in the feedback that came from the buyer was, and I think this is a piddle excuse, but was we didn't want to, you know, we went on the showing without the intention of liking it, and we didn't want to interrupt your holiday weekend because, you know, work-life balance.
Something that helped me, and I send it to you guys. I always, that during holidays, I always make a little, you know, card or something that I can send to everyone. And I got 3 responses. I mean, I got a lot of responses, but 3 that like, okay, Meredith, I'm ready to start looking again. There was one that she asked me to put it on hold, and then she's like, you know what, I'm thinking I want to invest, and she's getting pre-approved with Manuel. So just by just saying Happy Labor Day and sending them that little card I made like in 5 minutes.
So simple. And it also sets the expectation, right? Maybe you should text all of your customers. I would go, guys, if you don't do this on a regular basis, majority of people work 9 to 5, and so they look at houses Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, right? If you don't go through your active leads list every Thursday and text every single person and just say, hey, hope you're having a good week. Do you want to see some houses this weekend? I'm available for showings, right? Now, what is that doing? It's doing a couple of things. One, it's a touch point in case I haven't talked to that person in a few days. 2, it lets them know that I'm thinking about them and that I'm ready and willing to work for them, right? Now, if the customer's excuse that Labor Day was a thing and I didn't want to bug Gavin, if that's true, then a simple text like that on Thursday or Friday saying, hey, I'm available this weekend. I'll be in town if you want to see any properties. I know it's the holiday. You might have some more free time. Let's go do it. That message, that text, which you can copy and paste through all your contacts, now sets the expectation that the customer knows I'm ready, willing, and able to help them this weekend, right? Or if I was out of town, hey guys, I'm going to be out of town this weekend. I just want to set the expectation. But if you want to see anything, I have 20 other team members that are available to show you a property this weekend, right? We have showing agents on standby, even though I'm going to be out of town, right? All we're doing is clearly setting expectations with our customers.
There is I think I actually talked about this at a previous meeting before. And I think one of you, I think it was actually Nick, was thinking about possibly getting it. And it's an app called Hit 'em Up. Has anyone had any experience with that yet? So what it does is it's a program that you make lists of contacts, essentially. So you could make a list of current hot leads. And what it'll do is it'll allow you to send a mass text individually to each one, and it'll actually input their first name into it so it doesn't look like you can tweak it so that way it looks like you're sending an individual message to a person. But if you have, let's say, 5 active leads and you want to just send a mass message to all of them saying I'm available this weekend and everything, it's just like literally a click of a button. But what's great about this program is you might have 50 cold leads, and so you could send 50 messages all at once. Or if you're doing any cold or warm touching, it's also a great program for that as well.
Can you put that on the chat, please? I did it one by one. Active, hard, past clients, deals, everybody, like one by one.
Yeah, there it is. And it's definitely maybe once a month, reach out to your past clients. I mean, depending on how many clients you have. I know that Ben probably has a ton. So if he wanted to use this, he could literally, let's assume that the figure is 100 past buyers and sellers, but it's probably more. He could literally just send 100 messages at the same time. Now, is he going to have a headache? Yes, because they're all going to respond. But if you just want to like rip the Band-Aid off, that's a good way to do it.
Just block out 2 hours so you can respond when people text you back.
I'm huge on holidays because I feel that's when people have the time to actually be looking. So I was at a hotel, I didn't want to do that. And I'm like waking up early doing, all that because I know that I'm one of those that if I have a long weekend, I want to be looking at houses or looking, or just getting information about it. So this is great. Thank you, Mike.
Of course.
Cool. Any other questions, comments, concerns, or do you guys have any deal specific issues you want to discuss before we wrap up? Nope. Cool. All right. When you do submit offers, if you are on the team, please make sure to copy me. That way, if the listing agent calls me for additional questions or information, I know what we're talking about. But other than that, that wraps up today, guys.